decided you want to head to your local drag strip for your first time, but it's a little bit daunting. Don't worry, I completely understand. I'm gonna walk you through step by step everything you need to know and what to expect for your first day at the drag strip. My name's Coda. I've been drag racing now for quite a while. I guarantee you this will be the last video you'll need to watch about drag racing. We're gonna go over all the basics and I'm gonna throw in some tips as well. This is gonna be the perfect video for you guys because I'm out here by myself at my home track, so I get to show you guys how everything works. Stick around. Let's not waste any more time. We'll jump right into it. It all starts here. You just pulled up to the track. You're gonna go through the gates, stop at one of these booths. This is where you will pay. You will get a tech card and also a punch card that you will need to keep. Do not lose any of the paperwork these guys give you. Next thing we're gonna do is head down and find a place out of the way to park. Don't crowd the people next to you. That's a big pet peeve when everyone's all bunched up together. So try to spread out, find your own spot. And here you have all the rows of parking. This is where mainly the majority of people park. Pick a side if you have a trailer. Pull into the dirt, kind of like those guys out there you can see. Before you even get to the racetrack, here is a couple things you need to get ready. First off, check your track rules online, see what they require for safety based on your vehicle and speed. Every track's a little bit different, but the basics are a t-shirt, closed-toed shoes, and pants. You can't have shorts, tank tops, stuff like that. They won't let you run. The next thing, make sure you go over your car, do a visual inspection for anything out of place, missing lug nuts, cracked windshield. Make sure you're not leaking any fluids. Check your fluid levels and make sure your car or truck is in good solid condition to go down the track. You don't want to get here and not be able to race because of something silly like that. You won't make it through tech. Next thing, make sure you have enough fuel in your car if you drove it, or bring gas cans with extra fuel. Since we have race cars with trailers, we just bring some gas cans and make sure we're always fueled up. If you drive something here though, make sure you got a decent amount with you. You can go through a decent amount of fuel making a bunch of passes. Another tip, bring a chair with you unless you want to sit in your car the whole time or stand around. A camp chair doesn't take up much space. Throw one in with you. Promise you'll thank me later. There is some bleachers, some seating options, but if you want to sit by your car, make sure you bring a chair. Another thing, you might be able to find someone with one, but if you have one, bring a white window chalk marker because you will be writing number and a couple different things on your windows. If you have one, obviously it makes it easier. You don't got to go try to find one or go buy one. Take everything you can out of your car, number one, because they're not going to let you run if you have a bunch of junk all in your car or in the back if you have a truck. And also, you don't want the extra weight. Extra weight makes you go slower. So that's another reason you don't want stuff just laying around. The tech guys are going to ask you, how fast do you think your car is going to run? If you don't know, try to look it up online. If it's just a stock car, you can kind of get a guesstimate. You'll need to kind of have an idea before you get here. So keep that in mind as well. I'm going to be running you guys through everything you need to know from start to finish for our local track, Firebird here in Idaho. Every track's a little bit different. This is going to be the basics. We're going to cover everything for you. There might just be minor changes from track to track. And obviously the layout's a little different, but you will get a great idea by the time this video's over of what to expect on your first day. Shout out to Firebird Raceway, my home track for all these years. The events I suggest you come to is either one, a test and tune, or two, a midnight drag. The test and tunes, they run test and tune classes. You'll just have to check online, make sure there's a test and tune class, and then you can buy a test and tune card and come race. Otherwise, the midnight drags are late night drags. They have a couple of those, and those are from 7 to 11 or 8 to midnight. Those events are just practice, grudge races, just no points, no nothing. You just go out and run your car, get some test passes in. This specific track, it's a quarter-mile track. We rarely run 8th mile or half track, but the test and tune and midnight drags or late night drags are events where you can bring your car out. They're the most beginner friendly for your first time especially. The other type of racing we'll get into later is called bracket racing. If you watched my videos before, this will help explain more in detail, kind of some lingo, different stuff you might hear. Anyone can race. You can bring a minivan to run. You do not have to have a fast car. That's a common misconception. Bringing your daily driver out, you can run it down the track. You don't need to have a trailered race car or anything crazy to come out here and have a good time. So I suggest, if you've been thinking about it, doesn't matter how fast, doesn't matter what you got, I suggest you come out and give it a shot. Let's say this is my spot I picked. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is head over to the sports shop and get a race number assigned to you. That way everyone in the tower knows who you are. That number is good for all year. That's the number you'll be writing on the window of your car. They also have merch in there if you want to buy that as well, but this is where you can get more information. If you have any questions, they'll help you out in there. So after I parked, I went and got my race number. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my number on the window of my car with the chalk marker. At our specific track, you need to write it on the passenger front window and right here on the windshield. So if my number was 100, I'd write 100 in big letters, 100 in big letters right there. Nice bright white letters so they can see it, just so they can keep track of who you are. After I write down my number, then if you did bring a chair, I would set out a chair. Make sure you save your spot basically, so when you pull away to go race, someone doesn't take your spot. Next thing you're going to do is fill out your tech card. That's just quick information, your name. At this point, you are ready to go get your car tech. Right now, I am parked right next to the tech line. You can see these white lines on the ground right here are the tech line. There's going to be a bunch of cars all packed up right here, and there will be a couple guys checking your car out. Just want to get in line, take your tech card, all your paperwork and everything, and come pull in here into the tech lane. That's where these guys are going to ask you some questions about your car, look it over real quick, make sure you're all good to go down the track. After your tech, they give you the all good to go. You got all your safety equipment that you need. Now you're going to play the waiting game. You're going to drive back to your parking spot. They will tell you in the tech line what class you're going to be running in. They will split it up by speed, so you need to listen to your tech guy. They will tell you what class you will be in, and then you have to make sure you're paying attention. Over the loudspeaker, they will announce when the different classes are ready to run. Real quick, just a couple more things before you go. You can't have anyone else in the car riding with you unless you are slower than 14 seconds. If you are slower than 14 seconds, you can have one person in the passenger seat as you're going down the track. Also, it is one run rotations, meaning when you go down and make a pass, you don't get to come back around and make another and make another and make another. You get one round per time they call you. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Don't try to hot lap it as they call. And that is what your punch card's for. They're gonna give you a punch card, like I said, at the gate, and you have to bring that down with you when they call your class, and they're gonna give you a little punch mark on it, just so they can keep track and make sure everyone's getting the same amount of passes, no one's taking advantage. One more thing before your class gets called, a couple pieces of good etiquette. Don't be blasting your music loud. Not everyone wants to hear your music. Don't be revving your car for no reason, being annoying. Especially don't do burnouts, be messing around in the pits. Don't block anyone's pits. Don't drive behind. Just park your car in front of someone else's car or something. Keep your speed down. There's people, cars, kids everywhere. Again, just try to be smart, common sense. Keep everyone safe out here. All right, now let's say over the loudspeaker, I heard my class get called. So I'm ready to go race. I'm gonna grab all my safety equipment if I need it, take my punch card with me, and I'm gonna head to the lanes. Make sure you got all your stuff with you. You don't wanna be the guy that has to run back down the lanes because you forgot something. Here we go. If I was parked right here, I'm gonna drive out past the tech line, and we're gonna head down to what we call the staging lanes. This is called the staging lanes right here where this starts. Someone will be standing right here. Punch your card. Don't drive by them. Wait, get your card punched, and then you can keep going. When you're in the staging lanes, don't leave your car and walk off. The line is moving. You want to make sure you're paying attention, not causing people to wait on you. Don't drive around people in the staging lanes. These are the only two lanes you're supposed to be driving in. This is a fire lane. This is in case of emergency. This lane needs to be cleared at all times. These are the two lines that your racers are going to be in. At the midnight or the late night events, if you want to race your friend or someone you know or whatever, do not pull in side by side. You're going to want to pull in bumper to bumper. So you're going to pull in front of each other, and once you get up front, you just point at your buddy that behind you that you want to race, and they'll make sure you guys go. Otherwise, if you guys pull up next to each other, you're holding people up. Now you're driving down. We're making it to the front of the staging lanes. A couple pairs back, you want to make sure you're ready to go. Make sure your helmet's on and tight. Make sure you're all buckled up. Whatever you got to do, make sure you're ready a couple pairs back. Again, just so nobody's waiting on you. If you have air conditioning in your car, make sure it's off because it does drip, and you do not want to drip on the track, cause issues for the person behind you. Now, you made it to the front of the line. Someone that works here will be standing up here telling you guys when you can go down. If you were in the left lane over here in the staging lanes, then you will be in the left lane going down the track. Do not switch down. If I want the right lane, but I'm in the left lane, Do not go down there and then jump over and take the far lane over there. That's not how it works. Make sure you stay in your own lane. Once someone up here gives you guys the thumbs up, you're good to go. The right lane always leaves first. Just because the left lane, you have to take kind of a wide turn to make it around the corner. Let this right person leave first. That way the left lane can come behind them and take a wide turn. They gave us the thumbs up that we are good to go. It's our turn now. Next thing we're gonna run into, the water box. This is your opportunity to do a burnout if you want to. If you don't want to, or you have a car that doesn't do a burnout or doesn't need a burnout, do not drive through the water box if you're not gonna do a burnout. You are gonna want to drive around it. If I have a slower car or do not want to do a burnout, I'm just gonna take the long way around here and just pull up right next to it. Don't drive through it, otherwise again, you're gonna track water down the track, causing drifts. Again, just not good. What a burnout does is it puts heat in the tires to make them stick better, knocks off any debris that you might have drugged down, any little rock or anything like that. In the burnout box, do not stop your burnout in the box. You want to roll out of your burnout. You're sitting here doing a burnout, doing a burnout, doing a burnout. You don't want to just stop right here. You want to keep doing your burnout all the way through out of the water. If you stop doing your burnout in the water box, then you're just stopping back into a puddle of water. If you do too big of a burnout, it will make your tires greasy and actually make it slippery. Depending on your tire suspension, all that stuff, you'll have to figure out what kind of burnout your car likes. Personally, I just do a couple second burnout and that's plenty for me, but you'll have to play around with it. This is your time. These kind of test days are your days to mess around, to figure out what works, what doesn't. Try things a little bit different. You'll get pulled around. There's going to be someone up here. They're going to pull you into the water box. They'll tell you when to stop. They'll tell your other guy when to stop. That means you guys are both ready. Do not do your burnouts yet. There will be people ahead of you going down the track. They need to make sure they're okay. Then they will give you guys the okay to do the burnout. So just sit in the water box, be patient. Then they'll tell you go ahead or go ahead. Or if you aren't doing a burnout, you're just gonna hang tight back there next to the water box and wait again till they tell you okay to come up. Another thing, when you're doing your burnout, keep it behind. Do not do a big old John Force burnout. I know it would be fun. I promise you don't need it. Just keep your burnout back here. Once you and your opponent or the guy you're racing have both done a burnout, now you are ready to stage. This is the Christmas tree and this is how it works. Up top, you have two circles. These two circles are going to illuminate little half circles. The top one is called pre-stage. The second one is called stage. How they turn on and off is there's a box. There's lasers going across the ground. So as you're pulling up to the tree, your car tires are gonna trip these beams. You're gonna roll up slowly, 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 and you're gonna see your top crescent moon turn on. So just creep in here till you see your top bulb, your pre-stage bulb turn on, and then stop. The guy over here is gonna do the same thing. He's gonna creep up, creep up, creep up to these lines, and his top pre-stage bulb will turn on. That's called courtesy staging. One at a time. Once you both are pre-staged, back to the original guy's turn, you creep forward just a couple more inches. That is the stage bulb. It'll turn on the full bulb up there. Then you wanna stop. Pre-stage, pre-stage, stage, stage. Once you guys are both staged, both of your top bulbs are completely lit. Now you're both ready to go and make a pass. There's gonna be a crew of guys up here. Again, if it's your first time, they're gonna help you. If you go too far or not enough, they'll back you up, pull you forward, tell you what you need to do, slower, whatever. They're gonna get you lined up. So just keep calm. Once you guys are both staged, that means both your bulbs are fully lit up and you're ready to go. Then the amber bulbs are gonna drop 1, 2, 3, green. Obviously, we know what green means. Green means go. So once the bulbs turn green, you're gonna go. This is a regular tree, but there is also a pro tree. The only difference is instead of 1, 2, 3 green, all these ambers will turn on at once and then green. So it'll be a flash green. That's for different classes, different type of racing. All you're gonna have to worry about is a regular tree. When you guys are staging, make sure to not double bulb is the term. Do not double bulb your opponent. We are courtesy staging. That's the right thing to do. Double bulbing means before your opponent's ready, you just roll up and trip both of your beams and light up the full bulb before your opponent even has a chance to get ready. Not cool, don't do it. You guys go one at a time like we talked about. Another quick tip, when you guys are staging your cars, you wanna try to barely break the beams. so they call it. Once you light up the top one, you want to go slow, 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 and just barely turn on your stage light. That means you're just barely in. This is obviously for more advanced racing, but to help your consistency, you want to try to always just barely break that stage bulb. That'll help your reaction time, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. If you're just in a regular automatic car, when you guys are both ready to go, you can load the suspension on your car, meaning you have your left foot pushed on the brake all the way, take your right foot on the gas and just barely take it up off idle. So just barely push the gas pedal a little bit. It'll load the suspension of your car and it'll help you leave a little bit better. Again, if you don't want to even mess with that because it's your first time down the track, don't worry about it. You can just, once the light turns green, hit the gas and make a pass. That's just something else to think about. When you're watching the lights come down, when they go yellow, 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 you want to leave once you see this last yellow come on. Do not wait for the green light because you will be very late. You want to leave soon as you see this third light come on. The reason being, there is a human delay in there. Even if you think you're super fast, I promise you're going to be late if you leave on the green light. Leave on the third bulb. By the time your brain tells you push the gas down, and by the time your eyes see the light, all that, we're talking about thousands of seconds here when you're trying to get a good reaction time. A good rule of thumb, just leave off the third bulb and you'll be good to go. Once the lights turn green and you're headed down the track, a common misconception, your reaction time does not go into your overall pass. If you sit here after the light turns green for 5 seconds, that does not add 5 seconds to your pass. Your time does not start until you leave the line and start headed down the track. If you're headed down the track, your car starts to spin or do anything weird, make sure you get out of it, save it for the next pass. Don't try to drive through it. You definitely don't want to end up in the wall. It's not going to be a good pass anyways if you were spinning and sliding. And the same idea. If something goes wrong during your pass, if you hear a loud bang, if something's not right, immediately slow down safely as you can and pull over to the side. The worst thing to do is if you hear something go wrong, you just keep coasting on down the track. You have oil leaking or transmission or anything leaking, you're just dragging it all the way down the track. It's not going to be a good thing to try to clean up. Slow down and get over to the side. When you pull over, someone from the track will ride down. You see what's up. You guys get out, look at the car, get it pushed back, whatever you got to do. I'm gonna walk you guys down the track from the starting line so you can see that's where we're starting. We're headed this way. There are cones along the way. Again, with beams, I'll explain what those means. We're gonna go over a time slip a little bit later in the video. Here we are at half track or 8th mile. This yellow stripe right here is the mark for 8th mile, half track. You can see where we started back there. All the super fast guys here only go 8th mile because they need the rest of this room to slow down. But for us, we get to go all the way down there to the quarter. And this is our quarter mile. Here it is the boards. Again, yellow stripe signifies the quarter mile mark. This is the end of the track. Here at the end, just past our quarter mile, are the wind lights. So there's one right over there, and there's one right over there. Those lights will turn on based on who was the fastest, who crossed the finish line first, or if you're bracket racing, it's who won. That's for us drivers. Make sure you're using this room to slow down. Made it down to the very end of the track. Way back there is where we started. We come down here to the end. This is the turnaround, and that is called the return road. Obviously, each track is set up a little bit different. Here at Firebird, the left lane is the turnaround lane. So if you're in the left lane, you have the right of way. You get to be the first person to turn the corner to head back to your pits. If you were in the right lane, do not cut across. Courtesy is you sit and wait for the person in the left lane to go around first, then you can follow them around. If you cut across and something happened, the guy in the left lane lost their brakes and they can't stop, obviously that's not going to be good. So again, just be aware of your surroundings. Don't cut in front of people because that would ruin both your days. This is extra runoff. I've known people that have gone back here, again, losing brakes, something goes wrong, you go off into this field. As you can tell, it's probably just a good rule of thumb. Always keep your head on a swivel. Here we are on the return road. Left lane's going this way, right lane's headed back that way. You're gonna wanna stay in the left lane here and keep your speeds down. Don't be speeding through here. You'll just take a nice drive back to the time shack, which I'll show you guys in a second once we get up there. Once you've made it all the way up the return road, you will stop at the shack right here where it says ET slips here. There will be someone here handing out your actual time slip to show you what you ran, your reaction time, all those specifics. Let's go over a time slip right now. Here's a time slip from this last week's race. Let's go over it real quick. Obviously, here's the date and time. For this race, I was in the right lane, right here at Dial. This is when we're bracket racing. This is what I wrote on my window, 1097. This is my opponent, what he wrote. If you're just testing, you're not gonna have a dial on your window. Next line, reaction time, 035. I had an 026, which I will take all day long. Anything with a 0 in front of it is good. If this was 0.000 seconds, that would be what's called a perfect light. That's what you want every time. That means you left exactly when that bottom light turned green. Exactly perfect. On the flip side, if you leave before the light turns green, that's called a red light. In that case, you would have a negative in front of your reaction time here, and if it was a bracket race, you would automatically lose. The other guy wins. Stay away from that red light, but again, get close down to a perfect light as you possibly can. The next line, our 60-foot time. Mine is 1.49 with a 2. This is typical for me. I'm 149, 148. This is just a time, how long it took for you to get to 60 feet. The next one on this slip is our 330. Again, 4.407 seconds, pretty typical for me. The next one is 8th mile or half track, 6.914 seconds. And after that, it'll tell you your mile an hour for that 8th mile. That was 97.52. And then the last one is your 1,000 foot. 9.109. That's almost to the end. A quarter mile is 1,320 foot. That's 320 foot from the end. This is a quarter mile, what you actually ran. I ran a 1099 with an 8. I was dialed a 1097, so that's pretty close. I ended up winning, and then your mile an hour is at the very bottom. I'm normally 120. Just looking at the slip, I can tell you that I let off at the end or I tapped the brakes at the end in order to make this time. This is a bracket race slip. If it was just a regular test pass, wouldn't say win, wouldn't say dial, but it would be the exact same. So that's how you read your time slip. Again, I keep all these down and the weather at the time of my pass. So I can go back and I can look at it at any time, see what the weather was like, prepare for my next pass for bracket racing, trying to predict what I'm gonna run the following pass. And that's it, you just made your first pass. What you'll find is a lot of drag racing is about the driver, different kind of variables. What kind of burnout does your car like? Where does your car like to launch at? Different suspension settings. There's all kinds of stuff. You can go down a rabbit hole pretty quick trying to make your car faster. On the Christmas tree, this one is an LED tree. There are LED and there is regular bulb tree. But with LEDs, the bulbs are really bright and they're on like that. With a regular bulb tree, you can kind of see the bulbs illuminate. You will leave differently on a regular tree versus an LED tree. When I was racing over at another track, they had a regular bulb tree, not an LED tree. I kept going red because here I'm used to, as soon as I see that third yellow start to come on, that's when I leave. Well, over there, as soon as I saw that first yellow start to come on, I was always red. I could not catch a green light. Even that little difference, I just wasn't used to it. So if you have different trees, go around to different tracks, you will notice a little bit of a difference. Make sure when you come out, ask questions, talk to people, talk to different racers. You guys are out here, come talk to me, talk to the people that work here. Most people are super friendly. They'll help you with anything. They want to teach, they want to help. Probably the only sport that you do that you're gonna help. If someone breaks in the pits that we're against, we'll still go over and help them get their car fixed because we want to race. We don't like seeing people broken, so we all are like one big family, help each other out. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no stupid questions. And also come out to the track, support your local track. There's a lot of tracks closing down. The more people we can get out here, the better. Just make sure you're supporting your local track. That's everything you need to know for grudge racing or practicing if you're just testing. Now let's cover a couple things about the racing that I do most of the time, bracket racing. And also we're gonna throw in a couple more advanced tips in there for you guys as well. The main difference between grudge racing and bracket racing, grudge racing or just straight up racing, is first one to the finish line win. Fastest car, probably gonna win. Cool thing about bracket racing, it's not about who has the most money, who has the fastest car, it's more about the driver. With bracket racing, what your goal is, you try to predict the time your car is gonna run. Doesn't matter if it's a 20-second car or a 10-second car. Either one can win, you guys are both equal. How a bracket race goes down, you write down on your window prediction of what you think you're gonna run. If I think I'm gonna run a 1090, that's what I write on my window. If the person next to me thinks they're gonna run a 18-second flat, that's what they write on their window. Now, when we line up, the difference is on the tree, the lights don't come down yellow, 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 green. They are staggered. One's gonna drop before the other one. One side's gonna go, and then the other side's gonna go. The slower car is gonna leave first, and then the faster car, if that's me in that situation, will leave second. If we both run perfectly what we predicted, that should mean we both cross the finish line at the exact same time. How you win a bracket race is A, you need to have a good reaction time. Again, leaving on the third bulb, being consistent. That's the first hurdle, and then the second hurdle, down there at the end. You have to judge when you're racing. Are you going too fast? Are you not going to be able to catch them? There's a million things going through your head you got to make quick split decisions on. But anyways, if you are closest to your time, if the person that thinks they're going to dial 18 runs 18.00 on an 18.00, if they have a decent reaction time, then they're probably going to win. But that makes it cool because, again, you can bring and race whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a super expensive high-dollar race car or anything. Bring your daily driver out. If you're a little bit consistent, you can win. That's how they keep the playing field even, not just whoever has the most money, whoever has the fastest cars, obviously going to win. Bracket racing is what we mostly run, and I suggest you guys try it out too. Another thing is foot braking versus a trans brake. Foot brake is kind of like I was talking about earlier. If you would load the suspension, 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the gas, that's how you're launching your car. That's a foot brake. A trans brake I have in my drag truck. Basically, it's a button I press, it locks first and reverse gear together as long as the button's pressed down. As soon as I let off the button, it lets go and lets me leave. Now that has a built-in rev limiter. I can set my launch at a different RPM. That's what you'll hear at the track. Here at the starting line, you'll hear cars bouncing off the rev limiter. It's not their actual full rev limiter, but it's their trans brake wherever they set it. A lot of the time, you'll hear me messing around with my button. If I'm spinning off the launch, meaning it's hitting too hard and spinning the tires, I'll mess with my trans brake launch to try and help minimize that. As we all know, modern cars have a lot of computers in them. They don't make popular bracket cars. Honestly, a lot of the people out here are running just your small block Chevy, old school. Take away as much of the electronics we can. The newer cars, they will start acting up. They aren't great for being consistent. They're still not too bad. So if you're bracket racing with a modern car, you probably know the struggle. Sometimes it'll just throw a random fast pass in there or a random slow pass. The older cars, the old school stuff, is a little bit easier, in my opinion, get dialed in. There's just a little bit less to worry about. In the water box, when we're doing a burnout, I have a button in my car. It's a line lock button. It's gonna be pumping my brakes on the inside of the truck before I do a burnout. Then I grab a button on my shifter. So what that does, it locks the front brakes, leaves the back ones as is. I can spin the back tires freely without burning up the brakes. I like to count to like 3 or 4 seconds. So I'll hold my button, count to 3 or 4 seconds, let go of the button, releases the front brakes, lets me roll out of my burnout like we were talking about. So I still stay in the gas, I just roll out of my burnout. That way I get a nice clean burnout every time. One more thing on the tree, I just got it covered up. If you like the pre-stage and then you like the stage, so you have the full circle, you're ready to go, and then you continue to roll forward a little bit more, you'll notice just the bottom bulb, the top bulb will go out. That's called deep staging. If you're deep stage, the lights will still come down, you can still go, but just know you're that much closer on your reaction time, so you need to be super careful. I don't recommend doing that. If you come to a grudge night or a midnight drag, anything like that, they're not gonna let you deep stage. They'll back you up and help you get lined up. But if you see that happen, that's called a deep stage. After you and your opponent both light the top bulb, you are in an actual event, actual race, not just testing. Someone jumps in, they double bulb you, they light both their bulbs, you're not even pulled up yet. Once you pull up and you crack that top bulb, you hit the pre-stage bulb, a timer starts. So you have a few seconds, it's like 7-10 seconds, until you get disqualified, you go red, their light goes green, they let them go. You need to be paying attention. That's why you're supposed to courtesy stage. You guys both light the top, then light the bottom. When you launch your car off the starting line, it is all about weight transfer. You are trying to get the car to sit back. If you pull the front wheels off the ground, that's losing energy. Wheelies are cool, but it means you lost a bunch of energy. There's a lot that goes into it. Just wanted to touch on that real quick too. When you're over in the staging lanes and you're bracket racing, make sure you have your dial written on your window a few pairs back. Once they're telling you to go ahead, you don't want to jump out of your car and have to hurry up and try to write something on your window. The guys up here in the tower are looking. When you turn the corner, they're typing in all your info. They're typing in what time you're gonna run. When you're bracket racing and you guys are pulling up here, they have your numbers that you wrote on your window, your predicted time, put up there on the end board. Do not pull forward and start tripping beams if that time up there is wrong. Because sometimes if it's not written good enough, those guys up there can't see it. And if you wrote 11 flat on your window, but they couldn't see it and so they put 1180, don't want to lose because of something silly like that. It's your responsibility to double check the time. If you pull in and break the beam and your time's wrong, that's on you, and too bad, so sad. Better luck next time. So again, pay attention. You have to double check your time. They do have boards up here too that will say your time. It'll say your predicted time that you wrote here and down there on the board. If it's not good, just stay back and just wave someone down, tell them not good. They'll come over, check your window, and they'll radio it in to the tower for you. But again, it's all your responsibility. When I'm bracket racing, the name of the game is being consistent. Every time I fill up my fuel to the same level, I check my tires, change my tires to a certain pressure every single time. I have sunshades that I put on my tires to keep the sun from beating on them. I also run my water temp and my tranny temp gauges, make sure everything's a certain temperature. Once everything starts to heating up, The car might slow down a little bit. Having a shift light, so I shift at the same time every time. Some people have like air shifters or electronic shifters. I'll shift the cars for them. Figure out the best way to make your truck or car more consistent, the more success you're gonna have. Continuing on with consistency, based on the density altitude, how many feet of air are we at right now, depending on the heat, depending on, as you can see, the wind. With a C10 like mine, it's like pushing a billboard down the street, so the wind really affects me. I log everything down, every pass, what the DA was, what the humidity, how was the wind, did the truck spin, did it hook? And again, drag racing is very hard. Don't get discouraged, there's a ton to learn. That was everything and a little bit more. I know that was a ton of information at once. Rewatch the video if you need to, watch it a couple times, but like I said, I guarantee you, this is the last video you need to watch about it. Go out there, give it a shot. I tried to cover everything I could think of, plus a little bit more for you guys, give you guys some extra tips. So that's gonna wrap up today's video. As always, I appreciate all the support. If you guys, again, have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Make sure to like the video if you found anything useful in it. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope this helped you guys out. Hopefully we'll see you guys out at the track. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.